The Selfish Giant, Chapter Summary. NCERT It So Happened, Grade 8, Presentation by Yashvi Goel. Chapter Introduction. Oscar Wilde wrote a simple and interesting story of divine intervention in nature. Coexisting and spreading love is the message of the story. The young boy was a messenger of God. He made the cruel giant repentant. Because he was not allowing his creations to blossom, when he broke the wall, happiness and beauty surrounded him in terms of children and spring season. Detailing and personification of hail, snow is presented well. Chapter Summary. The opening line suggests that the children were fond of playing in the giant garden. It was a lovely garden with soft grass and beautiful flowers. It had 12 peach trees that flourished with pink and pearl flowers in spring season, turned into rich fruits in the autumn. The children listened to the song of various birds and thus lived in ecstasy. Their enjoyment had ended with the arrival of the giant, who was away for last 7 years to a friend's house. He was infuriated when he saw children playing in his garden. He started shouting and built a high wall around it. He put up a notice that trespassing from this property is prohibited. The decision took a toll on children as they did not have a place to play because if they play on the road, there was a lot of dust and stones. They were very sad and depressed. As the time passed, spring season came and flowers blossomed everywhere and the little birds were chirping all around. But it did not arrive in Giant's garden. There were barren winters only. Trees and flowers were not blossoming. No birds were chirping. However, the snow and the frost were happy. The snow covered up the grass with a white cloak and frost covered trees. The north wind was invited to stay by them. They brought chaos in the garden. Then they planned to invite hail. He fell on the roof of the castle and broke most of its spates. He was dressed in grey. However, the giant was waiting eagerly and was hopeful. One morning, the giant heard the melodious song of a bird. Initially, the giant thought it must be the king's musician passing by. Then giant rejoiced as he was sure that the spring has arrived. He looked out and found that children were back. Every tree was blossoming as a child was sitting on its branch. The birds were flying. Flowers were laughing except for a place where a small child could not climb the tree. The poor tree wanted the child as frost. Snow and north wind were blowing on that. The giant realized his mistake and decided to break the wall. He went downstairs and opened the front door, but the children were frightened to see him. The small boy could not run away. The giant lifted the boy and put him onto a branch of the tree. The tree blossomed at once. The giant's behavior was changed, and he allowed the other children. Then they entered the spring. Jubilant giant took an axe and knocked down the wall. People were surprised to see the children playing with the giant. The giant invited every child to visit his ground with special mention to the youngest child. But nobody knew him. The giant was very kind to every children. Years rolled by. The giant grew old. He watched the children playing while sitting in an armchair. He said that the children are the most beautiful flowers of all. The giant no longer hated the winters. One winter morning, he was surprised to see the lovely white blossoms. Its branches were golden, bearing silver fruit. There was the little boy sitting underneath. He was very happy and rushed towards him. On seeing his hands, he grew angry. He wanted to punish the wrongdoer. But the child replied that those were the wounds of love. The giant was shocked to hear such an answer. He then asked about him, who gently replied that once he allowed him to play in his garden. Now he would take him along. When the children came to play in the afternoon, they found the giant lying dead covered with white blossoms. Oscar Wilde was an Irish playwright, poet, and author of numerous short stories and one novel. Known for his biting wit and plenitude of aphorisms, he became one of the most successful playwrights of late Victorian era in London and one of the greatest celebrities of this day. Several of his plays continue to be widely performed, especially The Importance of Being Earnest. As a result of widely covered series of trials, Wilde suffered a dramatic downfall and was imprisoned for 2 years, hard labor being convicted of gross indecency with other men. After Wilde was released from prison, he set sail for Dyve by the night ferry. He never returned to Ireland or Britain and died in poverty. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe our channel for more updates.